do. We wanted to create a healthy, abundant environment where we could show up with our best values, and we could then invite others to collaborate, to test new ideas, to apply ike kupuna, so that we can create the solutions going forward. Because let's just be real, uh, Western mindset and Western perspectives have placed us in this current situation that we're in. So we're going to help by reframing our orientation, and we're going to ground ourselves, right? So the idea of creating sacred space, because anytime we bring our intentionality, we bring our kupuna, we bring our histories, we bring our genealogies, we know that we're accountable, not for ourselves, because that's the core component of a capitalistic system that is very oppressive on indigenous peoples. It's every man for himself, man, and I use that word intentionally, every man for himself, right? It's a patriarchy designed to take advantage of certain peoples. And so we wanted to create a place that was modular, that was flexible, that we could feel comfortable exercising spirituality in all the things that we do. So what is this? It's basically it's a co-work space during the day, and in the evenings and in the afternoons and on the weekends, it becomes a place for space rentals and for collaboration. And we didn't know if this was going to work. So in 2016, we had the idea. We took 16 months to kind of dream it up, test the idea, have lots of conversation with lots of different people, and then say, okay, we ready? We're going. And we put this forward. Fortunate enough to have two major partners, two major corporate sponsors to help lift this up. And this was our first night. We had great response. And so just by people showing up and just being themselves and having, like, what Tita Malia and Ante Kela was talking about, like just, finding ways to intersect and synergize, that's the magic that we were hoping for. And as you can see, hopefully this picture gives you that feeling that, yeah, we were able to replicate some of that magic from Aina. Yeah, so now it is a favorite place in urban Honolulu to conduct strategic planning meetings, to look at program design, to launch a new initiative, to solicit funding sources, diverse funding sources for social impact endeavors, and just a little bit of the early results in the first 2 years. So like I said, 2016, 16 months, launched it. And then in our first year, here are some of our results. We garnered 154 members. We have different membership tiers, right? So our Japanese community, Hoa, they have their Hongwanji, right? Chinese, they have their spaces to gather. But we felt like, hey, what about our spaces? Yes, the entire Aina is our place to gather, yes. But what about in urban settings, right? So we wanted to create a space for that. So lots of different, we have plenty kind of events. And what we're really excited about is that we got to create new jobs, right? We got to create new lifestyle jobs. And all of these students were actually, I had the great privilege of teaching all of them at one time. And they're all graduates of immersion programs. And so we just need, I believe, as a former classroom teacher and then school principals, like we've done a good job about focusing our efforts and our collective energy around building the learning systems that we desire. But what about the economy? What about the jobs afterwards? What about the careers and the lifestyle pathways? Because to me, that's where the rubber was hitting the road. And I saw so many, of my students. I don't know how this is for you guys, but so many of my students, they would leave like totally discouraged. When they would maybe they complete 1 year of college, and then they come and see me, like, oh, I had to drop out of school because I had to help Tutuma. And that's my cut in. They should be able to do that. But how do we create jobs so that they can do that? They can be we can encourage them to take care of their kuleana at home and in their own communities, and be flexible enough so that we can continue to cultivate their talents. Because I don't want to see any of our kids feel like they have failed in any way. And if they feel like that, then it's because of the system. And we have to be courageous enough to tweak, right, the system so that we can better serve our students. Real quick, and then we're gonna go into like what I want to share with you guys. So, lots of success in the first couple of years because we've been well supported by all of our our Aloha and our allies as well. Of course, it wasn't without bumps in the road. However, one big bump in the road was ma'iahulao, right? COVID, right? So we were jamming, and we were really proud because we were exceeding our financial targets. And the reason why I bring that up is because it's important. Like if we are about creating Waiwai, then we have to be able to create the revenue channels to be able to grow the business so that we can employ and create internships and create more spaces where community can come together and create their Waiwai. So for us, it's like economy with a purpose, right? So this is how we were able to pivot, did a lot of event coordination, just like you guys. Whatever, Pauhana, Puakai, we do everything now virtually, which is super awesome because I think I don't know for you folks, but Peha, Kanoi, has it like unleashed some new creativity? This
Absolutely. And it what was a challenge is now become a way of life for a lot of our older professors and faculty. So, you can teach old dogs new tricks.
Totally. Yep. Totally. Yeah. So we're able to be flexible, create that flexible space, be adaptable, be like Aina, right? And so we created CSA pickups. So our farmers and our Kanaka producers, if they had to temporarily close their farmers market shops or their stores, then we invited them to come sell their products. It was still a way where people could be safe, but we're still engaging and creating Waiwai together. So one other thing, just wanted to share, just mahalo to the kupuna and to the lahui. We were able to find a way, even in the pandemic, to get to our next level goal, right? So the next level goal is to expand, is to grow more urban kipuka, more kawaiwai spaces, wherever community and commerce wants us throughout the Pai'aina, and maybe even beyond our shores. That's my personal dream and vision, is to support wahine entrepreneurs that want to own and operate their own kawaiwai spaces in service of our people, of our Aina, and those specific aspirations of your spaces. So this is our mission. This is why we exist, and we're very excited about the future. And I want to actually now go into like this exciting offer and invitation for you guys. So I don't know, have any of you guys thought about doing your own side hustle? Like raise your hand if you actually have a side hustle already. Can you just like raise your hand if you have a side hustle? Smakain side hustle. Smakain.
I'm hustling, but my family all take my products, so I don't make no kala off that.
Okay, laka oya i'o. I think we all have a side hustle, but when you hear ohana, you think aloha is like credit and just habi ako.
Ooh, ha'avi aloha, ha'avi manawa le'a kikahi manawa. But we got to remind them, we got to control our costs so that we can generate more Waiwai. Okay, so basically what I want to share, I just want to have a conversation. And what I want to offer to you guys is just like my own kind of logic model for how I developed the side hustle. So Waiwai Collective is not my only business. I have 2 other businesses, and I also have a nonprofit that I co-founded as well. And I actually really love it. And this is what I want to say. Like as educators, this comes natural to us. You know why? Because we know how to read the room we know how to adjust. We know how to consider and identify the needs of our students. So if you just think of your customers as those learners, right? You want the best for them. So you know how to understand the needs of a particular set of people. That is key for a side hustle, for an entrepreneur, for business leader, all of these things, okay? However, if you are thinking about ramping up your side hustle or maybe starting your side hustle, I want to take a few minutes to help you go through a checklist, okay? To see if this is actually really what you want to do. And I totally want to encourage you guys to think about it. So why possibly a side hustle? What might be the benefits? Basically, it's super expensive, right, to live in Hawaii. We all know that. I mean, look at the numbers. You know, by some statistics, you have to make almost $40 an hour to be able to survive. Right? That's crazy. Did you know that Honolulu is the 7th most expensive city in the United States? And the 21st most expensive in the entire Honua, the entire world. Top 20 most expensive to live. So what are the benefits? Develop a successful side hustle that you're absolutely passionate about. You can pay down debt. You can save money. You can create a cushion or a nest egg, which will bring you, you know, a sense of financial security, given you control your expenditures, and maybe you can invest in yourself, or in your family, or in your partner, or whatever other passion project you have. And why now? Well, I think, you know, with what we've said, COVID, right? We all know it's provided us like new ways for working, for collaborating, for networking. And so let's just like double down on this new space and time. Let's create the destiny, the ideal lifestyle, the Waiwai lifestyle that we want to be a part of. Okay. So I'm gonna now go over just a short checklist. So if you're asking yourself, okay, I'm kind of excited, or I'm kind of that side hustle. Here are a few examples. What does that look like? You could be an affiliate marketer, right? An affiliate marketer. So you can, I don't know if you're getting like direct messages on Instagram and people are like asking you to be like a product model or affiliate marketer. That's an example, right? You could start a blog. Like maybe you love to travel, or maybe you're a foodie, or maybe you love Vahipana. You could start a blog on that, right? And you can also monetize that, because people ultimately value stories. They value connection. Like, and that's another reason why I believe we as educators are like, we can do this, because we know how to create connection. We know how to create synergy. You can sell information products. You can become an Instagram influencer. And if you are one, I want to know you, because I need help with that for my business. Okay, so here we go. Here's my little offer that I wanted to share with you. Basically, here's a checklist. If you're considering creating your own side hustle, here's 8 points to consider. The first 4, to me, are the most important. Spend the most time there. Describe your Waiwai, right? To me, the hardest thing that I do on a daily is try to describe to myself, have a conversation with myself. Like, what is my Waiwai? What is my worth? What is my value? And how do I malama that value, that Waiwai? And then how do I share that Waiwai with others? And with whom, right? No, shouldn't share it with everyone. Be very selective. But I don't know about you guys, but to me, like it takes work, takes discipline, because sometimes you have to, like, I have to go there. I have to go and face my fears, face my vulnerability, and spend a lot of time with myself, just, healing. Gotta heal from some things, right? Then the second thing is like the fish pond model. So I'm again applying the fish pond. I'm a fish pond thinker and a canoe thinker. So describe your optimal conditions. So we know in a really productive fish pond, there are optimal condition environments. The best conditions for aquaculture is a brackish water environment, right? Not too salty, not too fresh. So you need to describe what are your optimal conditions? Like, know yourself. What's the conditions that you want to work in? Like, if you value flexibility, like that's the most important thing, then create a side hustle that's going to allow that you're not going to be like, you have to get on a Zoom call every morning at 8 a.m., right? That wouldn't make sense, because if you value flexibility, then probably that's going to cramp your style. So another example of optimal condition is, I don't know, maybe you really value spending time with kupuna. And like, that's what you don't even have to get paid to do that. Like, you would pay others, in fact, to do that. That's something that you just totally love. Ask yourselves those kind of questions, and then find ways, to think about that. And then think about those conditions. Like, well, how do you want to spend time with kupuna? Do you want to be able to bring them mia'ai Hawaii? It's just a way to think about and just really acknowledge like your waiwai and the conditions for which you want to show up as your best self in service to Lahui. We all know this, we're all educators. Define clear goals. 3 things you want to consider. How much are you willing to invest? Either in dollars to start your side hustle, or in time, because it's something that you don't know. Like, maybe you want to become an Instagram influencer. You know, you can find some free workshops, and then there might be some paid workshops that you might do. So how much? The other thing is, so I said, how much dollars are you willing to invest, and then time. Upfront risk. Okay. So risk can take many forms. I'm just gonna call out somebody. Anybody want to share, like, what does risk mean in this context? What would that look like?
Either a cost or investment of time. There's something to lose.
Exactly. Right, because your investment in time. So if you choose to invest your time in here, it might take away time with your T's, or it might take away time with your keiki, right? So you have to just be clear about your upfront risk. And then finally, time, effort, well-being. Is it worth the time? Is it worth your effort? Is it worth, is it going to add to your well-being? Tita Malia will attest to that. She's like, if you don't follow her on Instagram or her what is that? Clubhouse. Go check out her Clubhouse, because she's always so encouraging. Okay. And then the 4th thing, envision the future state, envision that island. So bringing in the practice, right? We are taught, you envision an island, you know what it looks like. And guess what? A good crew member, a good navigator, a good captain doesn't plan for one sail plan. You plan for like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sail plans, and you ready to tack. Yeah, take different paths. Okay, and then finally, who's your ba'a? So what's the vehicle? So once you lay out the top 4, then you start thinking about. Don't think about the thing first, like, oh, I'm gonna be a blogger, or I'm gonna be a virtual assistant for hire. Don't think about that first. Think about the top 4 things first. Form follows function. Form follows function. That's what I mean by who is your boss. So what's going to be the vehicle to lay out and address the 4 top things? This is a super important one. I went business school. I got my master's in business administration. I'll save you $30,000. But this is like the most important thing. When you plan your side hustle, do not plan it just to feed your passion. That's not actually good enough. Sorry to say, but I'll be straight up with you. It also has to feed the interest to a paying customer. Yeah. So again, you gotta get clear about what value you bring, and then you find the right customer that wants that value, that would appreciate your value. And it's not transactional, right? It's not like that. It's all about relational. Like, how do we create abundance together? There's no playbook for that, but we get them. That's just part of our DNA, like how we create generative conversation and generative practice. Persevere, my hobby peel. Yeah, because this is, you know, like, I don't know, like your best unit plan probably didn't come to you the first time you did it. You probably need to revise it a couple of times, right? So same thing, like with your side hustle, just know that it's going to take a little bit of time, and you have to keep on revisiting, and you have to keep on assessing, as we know. And then once we know what needs to be tweaked, actually do something about it. Just follow through. These are all things we know. And then finally, just to bring it back to the top, which was describe your Waiwai, know yourself. Yeah, know yourself, meaning what are your boundaries? What do you want to give? What do you want to give? What do you want to create? What are the trade-offs for the time spent to do that? And then know your boundaries. And yeah, and when you spend the time responding to these 8 things on this checklist, I guarantee you're going to have an awesome side hustle. But definitely look at number 6, okay? So I just want to invite you guys, if you want, just totally unmute. If you have questions, I'm here to support you guys. If you have an idea for a side hustle, or you want advice or whatever. I also want to, if you're interested, Meredith, if you could put it into chat, please. I'm offering, sorry, it's incorrect, but for the month of May and June, if you want to join our virtual membership, because now we also started a virtual membership, so you don't actually have to be in the actual co-work space to get all the amenities. Pretty cheap, $10. It's like 2 Starbucks coffees, right? I will provide, if you do that, if you want to join, I will provide an hour of complimentary business consultation for your nonprofit or your for-profit, for either yourself, or it could be somebody for, ʻAha aloha or ʻohana. And that's it. Any questions? Utilize me. Not that I have all the answers, but if I don't have the answer, I have like a big network that I can draw from.
Makemake wai mahalo ya ʻoe Mahina, for your fabulousness. And while I was at KS, I got to come to Waiwai Collection when students were working on it was Halau Kumana students who were working on their planetarium. And then there was a bunch of projects. I just love that space in particular. So I just wanted to hold my ka'i yaoi, because it just seeing the mittens, the photos, like the energy in that space is just powerful and inviting for kanaka of all shapes and sizes. Because I love the lua too. It's inclusive. Yeah, kane mahu wahine. And so very inclusive space. And the haumana that we're working in there were just amazing. The projects that I got to see with 3D printers, they're using ThingLink, they're using just crazy tech and using Ike Hawaii. I just thought that was so wonderful, and I feel blessed that I had that was my first visitation to Waiwai Collection and being able to komo Ike Lawahi.
Hi. I just want to let everybody know it's a couple TikToks past 1:30, so you are more than welcome to hang out in here. But if you wanted to visit other rooms before the exhibition hall closes at 2, I put in the chat the link that will get you back to the all the rest of the rooms.
Stay with me, Kilo.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, elike me ka kuwehi makemake no ka mua e mahalo ya oi no ka mea. Yeah, these ideas of creating waiwai, creating wealth, like what does that look like? So mahalo for setting up the examples of this. As a former keiki kaipuni, as a pukana of Kamehameha kekahi, ike wau I nā au e lua, kau au o ke kanaka waiwai, a me kau au o ke kanaka e imi ana i ka waiwai, a waiwai i ka ike o lalo, ka ike o nā ano, honua nua like ole, nā puna wai o ka ike. And one of the things that I was thinking about was how can our kids learn more about financial literacy, I think, because I know I'm blessed enough to have a stevedore for a father. So my sort of socioeconomic standing as a daughter is different from other disadvantaged haumana, other disadvantaged people in the kula nui and in all different kula systems. So I don't know, I like make stevedore money, but I don't like do stevedore work.
Right. I like that. Yeah. I like make stevedore money, but I don't like do stevedore work.
Yeah. So I mean, he mea like ma'alahi loa ke la ano hana no ka umakuakane. He's like, Squidwater's that kind of work. He just another day. So how can I so mahalo wau I kia ano ola na ka ike ana how can I make that kind of money? How can I create that kind of wealth, not only to benefit myself but my kaiaulu? And so not only that I can eat and my ohana can eat, but how can everyone else eat and share in the wealth in the aino momona that we have here in Hawaii and across the Pai'aina, the honua. So I guess my question is, how can we teach this financial literacy and understanding the capitalist system and the patriarchal system society that we are a part of, and make it something that
mahalo no ke la ninau ole no he ole he ma'alahi ka pane. It's very varied, right? And so I think it's a matter of it's not either at this point. Like we cannot totally replace. We do not yet have the political base and the financial base to be able to replace the current system. However, I'm not advocating that we stay in a capitalistic free market system. What I am advocating for is how do we leverage our assets to work in benefit of ohana, right? Work in the current system, change what we can within the current system while we're also working on something totally independent, an independent system. I do think we need more financial literacy. I think do you guys all agree? Like, show me thumbs up if you think financial literacy is important. Here's the thing. I think if we were to focus, we need to ask ourselves, financial literacy to what end? Financial literacy to what end? So if the purpose of the financial literacy is only to be successful from a Western definition of economic success, I think we would be missing the point. I think we deserve more than that. That's low bar. That's like totally low bar. We know that. But how about economic systems that are also measured by the return of health to aina? By measuring the quality of relationships, by measuring living language in all spaces, right? Again, to me, my criticism of a Western capitalist system is that it's so focused on individual benefit, on profit maximization at the expense of all, especially people that look like us, right? Just saying, it's true. So I am like on this thing, and I actually mahalo, aloha Lisa. I got really like bent out of shape in a good way with the whole kaka'ako debate with ʻaha. I'm like, oh no, you're not gonna tell you're not gonna tell us how we're gonna manage our assets when everybody else can make whatever they make, but not the Hawaiians. No. So for me, economic empowerment is the next frontier. It's the next battle that we need to be a part of. And this is not new per se, because we've been talking about like how do we aggregate our assets. You know, certainly the Ali Trust have been talking about aloha eke hoa, kanari no hea. How do we aggregate you know, the work of various and the value and the net worth of Ali'i Trust. And here's the thing. Yeah, I might not be the most waiwai when I use a Western metric to measure my individual net worth. However, if we flip the whole model and we were to say, what if we pooled our assets? And what if we created our own Kanaka balance sheet that not only described some of the traditional measures that work for us, but all of these additional value adds? I think it would open up a mindset, right? It would actually help us return to things that we know and that we've been teaching our keiki. Aoleni.
Totally. I love that mana'o. Kalamai, mahalo ya ku'ulei, because I think Anake Kanoi kind of talked about, you know, you asked who had side hustles, and she mentioned, you know, she did, but a lot of it goes to her ohana. And I think that's probably a lot of us are like, you know, business conflicts with a lot of our, you know, mana'o ku Hawaii, and it's very conflicting, just like home ownership, you know, treating aina as a commodity. It's so foreign, yet that's the field that we play in right now. But I love your idea of us combining our wealth, you know, because individually we might be struggling, but if we were actually to put these resources together, like, it would just be amazing. But that it's a man's world, like you're saying, like, you know, man for himself, that concept is embedded in the system that we're in, everyone for themselves. And so trying to find the pono, the balance between trying to be kanaka in this system, trying to not be brokokole, because, you know, my ohana is from Kūkā. I know everything about brokokole finances, and financial literacy is huge. But I think Pilina and network, and that's I think what I love when any of us kanaka like hui up. It is magic. And yeah, I had other mana'o, but I think I just wanted to highlight, you know, how do we collectively do that, and how do we navigate, you know, I know Hawaiian Homestead, like, I've had people who are wealthy and doing a lot of flips on houses, and they're like, oh, no, go Hawaiian Homestead, you don't build equity, you know, what's the point of being in Hawaiian Homestead? And I mean, that's Hawaiian Homestead, some lucky, some not so lucky, still waiting a long time. You know, and yet a lot of us are lining up and waiting, and that's like the epitome of success in some people's mana'o of like, oh, you got your Hawaiian Homestead, okay, you make them, you Lanakila, and then you have fee simple and all these different ideas of vai. And so how do we
have one
find the
mana'o.
balance? And yeah,
I have one pretty simple mana'o, and we've seen this in, you know, with the fight for the return of Kaho'olawe, and most recently with Mauna Kea even. We have to reclaim the narrative. We have to reclaim the story. So we have to say, we are looking for a different economic system. An economic system, we want to create a new economic system that's grounded in Ike Hawaii, that is informed by Ike Kupuna, that is reflective, that is going to do that's going to reduce harm to environment, and even more is going to bring, you know, is going to help return our aina back to health. Because we know that we teach our keiki that it's embedded in all of our programming. When we place our hands on aina and we help to bring back health, we restore health to ourselves, and that's true wealth. Not to be cliche about it, but it's true, right? I'm gonna, for our friends who just joined, Kaneno here and Lisa, I'm just gonna show, if you don't mind, just the last couple slides. So I just basically, kind of messy. I went through the last, I went through our story, our origin story of Waiwai, and I basically wanted to just like offer up, like, if for those educators that are thinking of a side hustle, right? Don't quit. I'm not advocating to quit your job, because we need everyone to do their part in the education system in our Hawaii. However, we all know that we have the highest cost of living. You know, the highest cost of living. And I threw this number out. I was looking at one statistic, one report. We're the 21st most expensive city to live in. Honolulu, 21st most expensive city to live in the world. In the world, what does that translate to? Basically, for Honolulu, if you live in Honolulu or on Oahu, you need to make about $80,000 a year to be able to pay for all your basic needs, right? And I don't think I know starting teachers are not making that. Even fifth-year teachers, depending, maybe if they get their master's degree, they're not. So that's the reason why I wanted to bring this idea to the fore, is like, because educators, as we know, are some of the most creative, innovative people that I know. And I was just sharing, like, when I decided to transition from nonprofit to education and then now into entrepreneurship as a business owner, it was a very seamless process, because basically the ingredients that we have the ingredients to be successful entrepreneurs. You have to be able to read the room, read your environment, the market demand, so to speak. You have to know your customer. And we do that in our classrooms, in our schools, in our institutions. Like, you're always thinking about the best lesson plan, unit plans, learning environment that's going to bring out their best. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're trying to think of what value do you bring, right, to the end user, and then creating the product or service that helps meet their need. That's what business is. That's what a side hustle is. That's what actually business development is. And then one other slide I'll show you, or two other slides, sorry. So on the left, some examples, side hustles, right? You can be a freelance, you can be like a virtual office assistant to hire. I actually got to work with Kaneo here on a project, and then COVID hit. You can become an Instagram influencer. You can be a blogger. You can do all these kind of things. You can make cool apolima, lauhala, all these kinds of things. Sell it on an online store. All these kinds of side hustle things. And basically, wanted to share with them is like, classroom style. I would do one thing at the end. By the end of Napo'okala, grab a piece of paper, and like we do, we ask our students, just fold it and just create four sections and respond to those 4 areas, the top 4. If you have a clear response to these 8 areas, specifically the first 4, the most important, you're well on your way to creating a side hustle or expanding a side hustle. Hi, cousin Keho. So with the remaining time, actually I have to, I'm gonna close our room in 4 minutes because I'm gonna join the rest of the gang downstairs. I'm here to support you. Do you guys have any other questions about starting a side hustle or expanding a side hustle? Or, if you want to give advice to other people as well.
I love it. I love the slide. So clear. That's like a whole business class all in one slide.
Mahalo.
Right? So clear.
Maybe we should have a side group side hustle, like a bunch of us teams.
Because we started, Facebook. Facebook group,
Oh, nakanoe malamani ke la, yeah, ke ho'a'o ni. ʻAha, yeah, our teachers are the worst paid in the nation when you look at the cost of living.
Really? I didn't know that.
The worst, 51. We're ranked number 51, our kumus. When you
And
think
only
about
give 50 official states.
Exactly, pay a
patient.
lot. Pay a lot. When you look at the list of pay, we're like 16, I think. But when you add the cost of living, we're 51. So almost all kumus have a side hustle, I think.
Ai, pololei. And see, mahalo no ka hapai ana ke ala mana'o, because if we kind of start to understand like where are our teachers, where are they creating, in what markets are they creating their side hustles, then what comes to mind is like, so one of my businesses is I'm a network coordinator for different INA-based organizations. Anyways, then we could think about the back of the house services, because once you start to get into cash flow management and so forth, then you have to think really, you got to think prudently about your cost efficiencies. Like, why should every person hire their own bookkeeper? Like, why don't we just find the five top Kanaka bookkeepers that we all trust and we all vet, and we just give them our money because we trust them, they're vetted. And so that's just, I think we have to get more into the, we have to use these kind of network spaces to look at cost efficiency as well, and to look at where we should share resource. Yeah, it would be super interesting. Like, I don't know, probably, I bet there's a lot of kumu that are really into like photography or standing up websites, right? Probably.
A lot of them are doing MLMs too, though, I want to say. doTERRA, oils, Tupperware, 31 bags, like, they're the number one consumers too of these products, so they become consultants. Yeah, like all the things.
Any other
would be I think this would be a great like not an ʻaha, but like a halavai to hold for our kumu, definitely to discuss the mana'o that you brought up, because I think it'd be a good a'o for them, and it's pilikino, it's personal, so I think they're gonna really appreciate that. But because it also helps like you said, they have skills to produce things that we need for our lumipapa, that not just in Kaiapuni and Kaia'olelo, but across Hawaii.
Absolutely.
That could support our programming. The other thing I'd like to ho'omau ka wala'au ana me oi mahope, Tita, is putting together some kind of curriculum. Some schools already work with Panako in their communities, like Navahi works with a credit union, local credit union, to do financial literacy for the Haumana Kula Ki'iki'e. But I think if we get on the ball and we put together a some kind of small Papa Ha'awina package that includes our kumuhonua mauliola, our mauli inside of it, and speak it in those terms, I think the kids will a'apo really quick. The mana'o of the pono, hana kako no ka pono nui, but pono e I kaika makapakahi kekahi. So let's work on that.
Yeah, other lahui are doing indigenous financing and have their own banks, but that's a great mana'o. And I know, Kanani no Hea was mentioning before how many teachers we were losing because of budget cuts. And I know plenty hoa kumu that left during this pandemic from the classroom because they just couldn't hold it down. To no fault of their own, they had to choose to get out of the lumipapa, which is sad for our ohana and our keiki, because they just can't manage, living here, or they have to ne'e all completely ne'e, from Hawaii. And if this helps to keep our kumus home, that's what we need. That's what we need.
I think that's the other thing with us kumus, we want to give to our lahui. So what you had mentioned about sustainability, and we don't want to charge our people for our ha'awina, but our kumus are working so hard night and day, getting tired out, and then they have to take a side job. Maybe we should kukulu something where we can make it more sustainable by selling our ha'awina. I mean, just just so our kumus don't have to get a second job. But they can
Because the
still
second job is also the mental health too. Like, I think everybody can just say mental health has been impacted during this pandemic because everybody are trying to make ends meet and find anything to stay afloat.
we're held by our agencies.
I can have I would love to continue conversation. You know, if you folks have like real specific ideas that you want to expand upon, I would encourage you folks olelo pela, kakao pela, maka ana manao. Ika panina ana o keia kuka, mai kai. No ka mea, he ike pa ka oko. Ina olelo kako ma keia mau ana loi. Namako ma aia wau maka papa ho'akele, e nana namako a pane. Mahalo nui.
Mahalo. Mahalo nui.
In the chat, there's the Mahina's email again, and also the link for Zoom to get back to the main Zoom. Mahalo everybody for joining us today.
Mahalo, Meredith.
Really great stuff. Mahalo, Mahina.
Aloha.
Hi, Meredith.
Hey, friends.
Hi, Meredith. Ahoy ho.